So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah!
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, NFL training camp and the NFL season are just a month or so away, and with that being the case, there's a lot of players around the NFL and a lot of players even within the Lions' very own organization that are starting to get some hype around them. There are players like DeAndre Swift, TJ Hawkinson, Jared Goff, Aiden Hutchinson. They're getting all the press and getting all the hype in the world, but there are some players on the Lions that are flying under the radar. Players that people aren't talking about, players that the media doesn't know about, and players that are going to start earning some time and earning reps that you need to know. And today we're going to talk about some of those sleeper players. We're going to talk about some of the players that are flying under the radar, guys that may not be starters, may not be NFL superstars, but players that are going to earn their spot and they are going to earn their way on the football field and make plays for the Lions. So with all that being said and all the intro stuff out of the way, let's get straight on into taking a look at the Detroit Lions sleeper players. Now, starting off with a defensive star from a season ago. Jerry Jacobs was an undrafted free agent out of the University of Arkansas as an undrafted free agent. He is a player that joined the roster as the 7th or 8th cornerback, but slowly throughout camp, slowly throughout OTAs and training camp, he made his way onto the active roster, and after the unfortunate season-ending injury of Jeff Okudah, Jerry Jacobs was thrust into a starting role very early on in his NFL career, making his first start versus the Los Angeles Rams in Week 5 of the 2021 NFL season. And Jerry Jacobs had a very up or down game one. He had a pass defended, he was very sticky in coverage, very tight in coverage, but did give up a touchdown to Robert Woods fairly early in the football game in his first ever start. After that game, however, he did not allow another touchdown for the rest of the season, being incredibly sticky in coverage, being incredibly hard to get away from, and just overall outplaying the draft position that he was graded as an NFL prospect. Now, Jerry Jacobs unfortunately did tear his ACL in Week 14 versus the Denver Broncos and missed the remainder of the season and is even yet to see the field throughout mini camps and OTAs. However, when Jerry Jacobs is able to make a full recovery, when Jerry Jacobs is able to find his way back onto the football field, I truly believe he will carve out a role as a cornerback 4 on this roster and may even compete with Jeff Okudah for cornerback 2. I really think that Jerry Jacobs has something special with the Detroit Lions. He is somebody that, if you looked at him on paper, he shouldn't work as an NFL cornerback. He's not super long, he's not super big, he's not super fast, he's not extremely explosive. He isn't the prototypical Derek Stingley that ran a 4.3. He's not the Sauce Gardner with super long arms. He's not, Darrelle Revis, Richard Sherman, or any of the, incredible all-pro cornerbacks in the NFL from the past decade. But what he does have is he's just competitive. He is somebody that fights for every inch, fights for every yard. He is somebody that, statistically, somebody that from a measurement standpoint should not be nearly as productive as he is, or even as he was at college. But he is somebody that just continues to stick with wide receivers, somebody that continues to be a bother to some of the best wide receivers in the NFL. I mean, he was giving Justin Jefferson a run for his money. He was giving Devontae Adams a taste of his own medicine. He was really going up against some of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and yet he didn't win every single matchup, but he certainly got his fair share of blows in as an NFL rookie. Jerry Jacobs finished his rookie season playing 9 games for the Detroit Lions, totaling 34 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, and 7 passes defended, while only allowing a 59% completion percentage when targeted, allowing just 288 yards, and again, just the singular touchdown. Now, getting on to the first offensive sleeper of this year's team, I think Jermar Jefferson is going to have a huge season for the Detroit Lions. And when I say a huge season, I don't necessarily mean that he's even going to start or that he's going to go over 1,000 yards or anything like that, but I believe that Jermar Jefferson is going to go from a player that nobody knows the name of, somebody that nobody is talking about, and he's going to jump Craig Reynolds, he's going to jump Godwin Igwebuike, and he's going to finish, and he's going to even start the season as the Lions running back 3, and he is going to see a fair amount of carries throughout the 2022 NFL season. The Lions had a pretty standard rotation of running backs a season ago. DeAndre Swift and Jameson Williams obviously got the bulk of the carries, but as injuries started to amount and as injuries began to pile up, Craig Reynolds was the player that the Lions began to lean on. As Jermar Jefferson was injured and Godwin Igwebuike had the fumbling issues, Craig Reynolds turned into the default running back 1 for a few games throughout the middle of the NFL season. But I believe Jermar Jefferson, coming back from an injury-riddled rookie season where he had some soft tissue injuries and where he really had a long-term injury that sidelined him for a majority of his rookie season on his long run in Pittsburgh that went for a touchdown, he just kind of had some bad luck go his way as a rookie. But as a 7th-round rookie from Oregon State, Jermar Jefferson had 15 carries for 74 yards and 2 touchdowns before the injury. He is a really good runner of the football, really good balance, really good, contact balance, is very good at staying up after contact. He's got pretty good hands, so he can be an option in the receiving game, but he's just a very, very solid football player. He's a very solid runner of the football. He reads gaps well. He's fairly explosive. He doesn't really have the long speed of an NFL running back, but he certainly has the quickness and the explosiveness of a starting caliber running back in Detroit, and I think we saw that multiple times throughout his rookie season. Even though he only had 15 carries, he had a long touchdown versus one of the best defenses in the NFL, that was the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had a couple other big runs throughout his 15 carries of NFL play, and he wasn't fully healthy for any of these games. He hasn't been fully healthy since entering the NFL, and this year will be the first year where he doesn't have a nagging injury going into the NFL season. Of course, fingers crossed that something doesn't arise throughout training camp, but Jermar Jefferson very well could finish the preseason and start the regular season as the Lions running back 3, and as we saw from guys like Craig Reynolds, Godwin Igwebuike, and even Jermar Jefferson himself last season, the Lions are going to go deep into their running back rotation, and they are going to get a chance to show what they have on the football field. Now, back over to the defensive side of the ball, this is a player that we've talked about a few times on the channel over the past couple of months, but Malcolm Rodriguez, the rookie linebacker and rookie 6th-round pick from the most recent NFL draft, is a player that I believe will not only play very early on in his NFL career, but will start very early on in his NFL career. I believe that Malcolm Rodriguez will be a starter come mid-season of the NFL, and I believe him and Derek Barnes will finish the NFL season as the Detroit Lions' 2 starting inside linebackers from the 2022 season. Malcolm Rodriguez, as I said, is a 6th-round rookie, is a player that doesn't really have a lot of hype, doesn't really have a ton going for him right now, but throughout OTAs, throughout rookie minicamp, and throughout mandatory minicamp, he has been somebody that has shown out and impressed coaches every single day. Multiple coaches have been quoted saying that Malcolm Rodriguez is one of the smartest players that they've ever been around, is one of the greatest football minds as a player that they have ever had the opportunity to coach, especially as a rookie, and that he is, quote, from head coach Dan Campbell, ahead of many of their third-year players. Malcolm Rodriguez was the linebacker that led Oklahoma State to a top 10 finish in the NCAA, led them to a BCS Bowl victory over Notre Dame, and led the fairly underwhelming Oklahoma State defense to a pretty solid finish considering the talent on paper that defense was actually supposed to have. Malcolm Rodriguez is a leader, he is productive, he is smart, he understands roles and assignments, and he is a very, very vocal leader on the football field. As a 6th-round rookie, he is getting some consideration for the green dot, being in consideration for being one of the captains of the defense, and if somebody from your rookie class, regardless of if they're the 2nd overall pick or the last pick in the NFL draft, if they are getting consideration to be the leader and the communicator on your defense, that says a lot about how far that rookie has come from the draft. And then the last player that I wanted to talk about today was another offensive player, an offensive player that is going a little bit under the radar, and an offensive player that has not been getting any hype or any recognition throughout the NFL offseason. That player would be tight end Brock Wright. Now, Brock Wright last year, like Jerry Jacobs, was an undrafted free agent from the 2021 NFL draft class. He's somebody that came in as the tight end 4 or 5, didn't see a lot of playing time early, but due to injury and due to him just outperforming the rest of his teammates, Brock Wright was the solid tight end 2 to end the NFL season. He finished with 12 receptions for 112 yards as well as 2 touchdowns in his rookie year, and he played very, very well down the stretch for the Detroit Lions. He was a good blocker, he got open, he made a couple really nice contested catches, including his career highlight so far of the really, really perfect seam ball thrown by Jared Goff, where Brock Wright caught the ball through contact, took a hit, brought it down in the end zone. It was a really good throw, really good catch by Brock Wright, and he's just all around is a very solid tight end option for the Detroit Lions. Now, I get that the Detroit Lions have some bigger names coming in. I understand that they signed Devin Funchess to be a tight end. I understand that they drafted James Mitchell in the 5th round, and I even know they brought in another big-time draftee from the tight end position in Derek Deese Jr. But I think that of all the names in that list, I still believe that Brock Wright is going to finish the season once again as the primary backup tight end to TJ Hawkins. And yes, James Mitchell I think has more receiving upside. I think he's a better contested catch kind of wide receiver. I think Derek Deese Jr. is going to push for the roster, and I definitely think Devin Funchess, as far as being a matchup weapon, will make the roster as well as a tight end. But I think come the end of the season, I think once injuries start to pile up, I think Jared Goff is going to go back to that guy he has chemistry with. He's going to go back to Brock Wright, the player that he played with last year, the player that he developed chemistry with, the player that he threw touchdown passes, the player that he gave tight window balls to in a very high pressure situation. He's not going to rely on a rookie. He's not going to rely on a guy that got there 3 weeks ago at this point. He's not going to rely on an undrafted free agent he's never thrown to. He's going to rely on Brock Wright, the secure safety blanket tight end that gave him multiple touchdowns and multiple big plays a season ago. So with all of that being said, those are my sleeper players for the Detroit Lions. Those are guys that you need to keep an eye on in training camp, guys that you need to watch out for in the preseason, and players that may end up coming back to shock many fans in the 2022 season. So with all that being said, that is all for you guys today. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys think. What players do you think are being slept on the Detroit Lions roster? Is there a breakout candidate or a player that is going to exceed expectations going forward? Be very curious to you guys think. But with all of that being said, that is all for you guys today. Thank you all so very much for watching, and until next time, and as always, go Lions.